So we are at the Harris County Courthouse, and 3 years ago it was here where my ex-husband and I fought for 5 very long and grueling days over custody of our 10-year-old son, Jack. Jack's father and I met on a Monday night in a bar. If that tells you anything about our backgrounds, it was our junior year of college. A couple of years later, I found out I'm expecting a baby, and here we are, two very young, wild, recently graduated college students that have this very adult thing thrown in their lap. We got married, and a year later, I decided to separate. It was just difficult for it to look like the Leave It to Beaver family because we were both just so consumed with drugs and alcohol. Our custody agreement was 50-50. He actually remarried, and I asked him if he would consider revisiting our custody agreement. One thing led to another, and the next thing I knew, we were just in a full-fledged war.
This was my courtroom in my home for the last 7 or 8 years, and it was a brand
I'm
new.
Bonnie Crane Helms. I was the judge of the 247th District Court. It was a family court, and I did it for 20 years. Sarah and Doug's case had gone on for a while, and I saw them a couple of times. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was some squirreliness going on. And I have been an alcohol and drug counselor as well. So I pick up on cues a little more quickly.
On the day that I thought would be the last day of the trial, when I thought the ruling would be in my favor, I was in for a huge shock when the judge asked me to leave the witness stand. She just sat up tall and she pointed her finger at us, and she said, "I think that you both have a substance abuse problem, and I have the right mind to take this child away from you both." That's the stuff that nightmares are made of.
I cold busted them, and I warned them. I said, guys, don't push me on this. If you don't get clean and sober, I will take this little boy and give him to someone who will put him first.
In that courtroom, we both were forced to face the fact that we had issues with substance abuse. One night, I know that I consumed close to 3.5 bottles of wine, and I was standing at the refrigerator that next morning, so hungover, and I heard a voice. Plain as day, I heard a voice that told me, "You will die if you keep drinking like this." I knew that if I continued, my life was going to end. After I got sober, I knew that I needed to have a church family. So I started going to St. Luke's in July of 2014, and then I started to hear what the story was about. And when I heard that it was a church that was for non-religious people, I thought, okay, that sounds like a pretty cool concept. Let me check it out. And just immediately knew, this is it. This is absolutely where I belong. And my faith just began to grow by leaps and bounds. One Sunday morning, I was greeting people at the front door, and this woman walks in. She looked so familiar, but I couldn't quite put my finger on who she was. And I'm just staring at her, and all of a sudden, it dawns on me.
St. Luke's had been my church for 56, 57 years. First time that we were going to the story, we walked up, and Sarah looked at me and said, "Are you Judge Helms?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I looked at her and I said, "No, sweetie, I don't."
I'm just shaking. I was so nervous because this woman was so incredibly intimidating to me, but I just knew I had to tell her. And I said, "Listen, you tried my custody case about a year ago, and I just wanted to let you know that because of the things that you said to me in that courtroom, I've been sober for almost a year." And she grabbed me and hugged me so tight. Her eyes filled up with tears. And she just said, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just was so tickled and so moved because you never know if the decision you made was right.
It's moments like that where you just know that God is so real. God is at the center of my life today, and I owe a lot of my spiritual growth to the story. Are you gonna go with a spooky pumpkin or like a classic pumpkin? You want me to hold it? When I got sober, I was fortunately able to take my last drink and not have another one since. Doug's road to recovery has been a little different.
When we had our Bible study one Sunday night, Sarah had come and said, please pray for Doug because he's on Kush and I'm afraid he's going to die. And she said, I'm scared to death to let Jack go with him because he's not sober.
It wasn't a battle. You know, I didn't try to take him back to court. I didn't berate him. I prayed for him really, really hard. This year on my birthday, he showed up at my back door with a bunch of flowers and he said, happy birthday, I'm getting sober.
I'm a real stubborn, hard-headed individual. Thank God everybody was praying for me. I just never really thought this would be my lifestyle. Even when I got into recovery the first time, I thought it was more about just getting fixed so I could go drink like a normal person or use drugs like normal people do. I didn't realize it was like changes the way you think, you know? You almost really become a different person.
Today we have a really great relationship. We truly co-parent Jack, and it's literally 50-50. I believe that God has a really huge sense of humor, and this story is a testament to that. Hi.
I'm so excited to see you.
Excited to see you too.
How does it feel?
Well, I gotta tell you, being up here this time, I feel really different than the last time I was up here. And I feel differently about you.
Yeah.
You know, my opinion of you used to be, I would describe you as a Judge Judy, a mean old Judge Judy.
But you're probably not the first person who said that.
God moves in incredibly wonderful ways, and He gifts you with things that you would never have even known to ask for. Now I can love her like I would like to have come down off the bench and loved her, but I couldn't. I had to play my role, because if I hadn't, neither one of them would have realized the importance of their sobriety on their child.
We did it.
Yeah.
I feel like your mother.
I know, you do. You give good motherly hugs. I love your hugs.
Oh, man.